This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Now on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT, HD, WOGL, HD3, Philadelphia. Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
If we don't move in our own direction, we're going to become extinct. In fact, in some cases, we're close to being extinct right now.
Presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries, and powered by the law offices of Pond, Rahke, Stern, Giordano. Talk, listen, and speak to the region's most influential leaders. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. A good Saturday evening, everybody, and welcome in to Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Dougherty in the big chair tonight for John, Frank Keel, back in the studio, back-to-back, double duty. Frank, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Thank you, Joe. Great to be here, as always.
Well, nice to have you here, presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries, and a big special night tonight. J-Doc has delivered
it was my honor.
Tonight's dinner meal, and I think Jay pulled a special drum roll, right, Jay?
Oh, the timpanis.
What are we eating tonight, Jay?
All right, we're eating D'Alessandro's cheesesteaks. We got two cheesesteak hoagies, and then of course 2 with and 2 without cheesesteaks, and unbelievable. Of course, I tested mine because I got here.
I went downstairs to let Frank into the building. Was downstairs for less than 75 seconds.
It was at least 2 minutes, Joe. Let me just
and
say
that
this.
Sandwich was crushed.
It was going because. I got to tell you, I grew up in East Falls. I still live in the area, so it's right by Roxborough, and so it's at Henry and Wendover Street. And I got to tell you something. I grew up on D'Alessandro's cheesesteaks, and they didn't disappoint. Of Jimmy Kimball fame, let me tell you something. I went there at 11 o'clock this morning to order them. Thank God I did, or I'd still be in line right now. Unbelievable.
Job well done by J-Doc, and our producer Jason was super excited. Grew up in Roxborough. He was super excited when I told him, and I shared with him. It is D'Alessandro's at the dinner table tonight here on Saturday Night Live. Let me set the table for all of our listeners tuning in. Got a big show tonight. First, we kick off the A block tonight. Sharon Pinkenson, the executive director, Frank, of the Philadelphia Film Office. She'll be with us momentarily. Got a good segment with her.
Sharon is unbelievable. She has turned Philadelphia into one of the hottest cities in the country for film and television work. Some of the classics, The Sixth Sense, Philadelphia, 12 Monkeys, World War Z with Brad Pitt. We have hosted many blockbuster films. We've run into a problem in recent years, and Sharon's going to tell us about it.
All right, we'll get to Sharon in just momentarily. 7:22 today in the big show. John McNichol, president of the Pennsylvania Convention Center. He'll be with us. Good conversation coming with him. J-Doc, the Pennsylvania Convention Center, as you know, and we've talked about many times, is alive and well. We'll fill everybody in about that story. And then again, in the second half of the hour, our C block, as we like to refer to, Lisa Deeley, who's the commissioner on the Philadelphia Board of Commissioners, will be along. She'll join us around 7:34, and then J-Doc at the top of the hour, right around 50, going to tell everybody about a special event going on.
Absolutely. It's the Workers' Memorial Day coming up. Barbara Rahke is our special guest. She's the executive director of PhilaPosh, an amazing event.
We're eating D'Alessandro's here in the studio at Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, and let's bring in our first guest of the big show, Sharon Pinkenson, the executive director of the Philadelphia Film Office, and she joins us on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. Sharon, a good Saturday evening to you.
It's great to hear your voice. And nobody invited me over there to have some D'Alessandro's. What's that all about?
We got some here if you want to come by.
Sharon, I was just lauding you and the work that your office, the Greater Philadelphia Film Office, has done over the years. Remind our listeners about some of the blockbuster films and movies and TV shows that we've had here in Philadelphia.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure to do that. Well, of course, I think you mentioned the movie Philadelphia, which was the very first movie I got to work on, and I mean, that's as iconic as it can get, next to Rocky. And then, of course, we've done, several other films. We did Rocky Balboa, and we did the Creed movie, which was a huge hit. So Those have been fantastic. We had 12 Monkeys, Up Close and Personal, Fallen, which we shot down in the Italian market, which was wild and, fabulous movie with Denzel Washington. We did Beloved with Oprah Winfrey. You mentioned The Sixth Sense. Night Shyamalan has made so many incredible movies here. His most recent, I don't even know how many there are. I have to sit back and count them. I think there's about 12, but the most recent one is Split. And
just watched it.
Wow.
Awesome movie.
It's incredible. It's just an incredible movie. And
is that the movie by the way? Is that the movie by the way? The guy has like 25 personalities.
And a whole lot of personalities. A whole lot of, who knows? I mean, I don't think they even figured out how many personalities this guy had. But, honestly, this one was actually really scary. I think his other movies were both funny and suspenseful.
This is real.
But
this is real stuff.
This one is just, and so smart. It's so smart. So we're doing another movie in the fall with Night, and it is part of a trilogy. So I think anybody who saw Split knows what I'm talking about, and those who didn't, I'm not going to tell them.
Sharon,
go see it.
Looking back on the boom days in the industry, we obviously benefited from the state-issued film tax credits. When and why did we lose the program?
Well, we still have the program.
Okay.
We still have the program, and in fact, I was in Harrisburg this week. I'm going to be back there all day Tuesday with meetings to try to talk to our legislators about how important this tax credit is. We spent all these years growing an industry in Philadelphia, in the southeastern Pennsylvania area, and to credit to my counterpart in Pittsburgh in the southwestern part of the state. So now we've got this great industry, and we're stuck at a number that's lower in tax credit amount than we had when Governor Rendell was governor, and that was a long time ago now. We're supposed to have $65 million this year. We were at 75. We've been at 60 for the last couple of years. So we grow up this fabulous industry both on the east side and the west side of the state, and we don't have the money to make it grow, because if you don't have tax credits, that's the that's the way the business works. They go someplace where there are tax credits, and there's plenty of other places, and our competition is completely uncapped. There's just they give them as much money as they need to grow the industry because they understand the benefit and the return.
Now, Sharon, let me ask you a question. Talk about the jobs that the film office and these major motion pictures bring to Philadelphia.
Well, in any given year, in the southeastern Pennsylvania area, we're at about between $200 and $300 million a year in economic impact. I mean, that's real money. We've been responsible for over $4 billion here since 1992. We have an opportunity for enormous growth. Everybody who works on the feature film and television series, reality series world, those are family-sustaining jobs. Our jobs are no different than construction worker jobs. People say they're temporary jobs, but we go from film to film to film as long as we've got the resources to bring those films in. So it's no different than going from a job site to a job site to a job site.
Here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor, Sharon Pinkenson, who's the executive director of the Philadelphia Film Office, joins us live on Talk Radio 1210 along with Frank Keel and J-Doc. I'm Joe Krause on a Saturday night in Philly.
Sharon, in talking about the jobs, a lot of these are good quality union jobs as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we just finished a movie, and most of them are. We just finished filming a movie called Untouchable with Bryan Cranston, Kevin Hart, and Nicole Kidman. And that was a phenomenal film. It was set in New York. It was shot almost entirely in Philadelphia. It was a fully union crew, Teamsters and actors. So it was IATSE, it was Teamsters, and it was SAG-AFTRA actors, and so it was all union. So and almost all of our features are union features.
Great.
Now, Sharon, let's talk about the difference in the tax credit situation before, when we were thriving, and how much we've lost and how much that's impacted the community in regards to big productions.
Well, we're losing, as I said, we've got this one tax credit. These past few years, we've only had $60 million a year. We've grown these industries on the east side of the state and the west side of the state. But in the west side of the state, they have their own locals. So they have area standard Pittsburgh locals, where here we are challenged because our unions all come out of New York. We have New York IATSE for film, and we have New York Teamsters, and so we're, they'd rather keep the business in New York, and it makes us more expensive than Pittsburgh. And if you're looking at the same tax credit, the same rules, the same laws, you're a filmmaker, you're looking at your budget, you know what your financiers are going to give you. They want to go to the place that's going to be less expensive.
Sharon, let me ask you, with all the talk and all the fanfare and all of the spotlight about to descend on Philadelphia with the NFL draft a week from today, starting on Thursday, and will you get any sort of benefit by the city being showcased the way it will be during the draft?
I think that not only do we get the benefit from having the draft and all these, huge events that we've been having in Philadelphia, but the film industry is also benefiting Philadelphia by bringing in all these great movies and attention worldwide for the things that we're doing in the film industry. So all of these big events, all of this activity benefits our region.
Sharon, what's your message to Governor Wolf and the legislature? How do we get this back?
We need more money. We don't want to be fighting with anybody else in the state. If there were more money, there'd be plenty of business all over the state. We'd be able to expand it to other parts of the state. This is a program that works. So we just need to get behind it and give it an opportunity to grow wherever it's going to be, like Georgia, where they're uncapped, like New York, where they're at $420 million a year, like Massachusetts, where they're uncapped, like Illinois, where they're uncapped. That's what we need. All these other states understand the benefit of it. Pennsylvania has to understand it as well.
And it brings tourism as well. I think they're missing that point.
I don't know how you can miss it. Tell me how we can miss that.
Every day I see people running the Rocky Steps with out-of-state license plates, Sharon.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Absolutely.
Well, Sharon, we want to thank you for being on Saturday Night Live and PhillyLabor. We really appreciate the work you do, and we're here for you. We're going to be a voice, and whatever we can do, we're here.
Please, everybody, talk to your legislators. Tell them that we need more movie business. The way to do it is to just put more money into this program. It really benefits all of us.
Thank you,
good
Sharon.
stuff.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good stuff from Sharon Pinkenson. We'll save you D'Alessandro, Sharon, joining us here on Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, along with Frank Keel, J. Doc, and Krause. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Dougherty here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We roll on. When we come back, John McNichol, president of the Pennsylvania Convention Center. He joins us after the break.
I won't participate on behalf of ourselves here at Local 98 or the Philadelphia Building Trades in conversations that are purely dominated on social issues that don't affect our jobs.
With the 14th pick in the NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. 1 week from the night, we'll be live at the NFL Draft Experience up on the Parkway right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. What an unbelievable collection of skilled workers to help pull this off. Just incredible.
I mean, I drive by it every day. The collection of union workers, electricians, iron workers, IATSE 8, I mean, unbelievable spectacle. Biggest stage in the history of North America. So let's put it this way. Okay, so I'll get a little...
Jay, that was, were you reaching for my sandwich, J-Doc?
Yeah, I thought I was. Listen, a little shout out to our brother publication that's run by Chris Ferrari.
He's banging the microphone and everything.
Yeah, because you're throwing this thing at me.
Go ahead. I just wanted you to read it. I didn't want you to pick it up, but go ahead.
All right. Okay, so I want to shout out to our brother publication run by Chris Ferrari, www.paunions.com, and their magazine, Trades Union Digest. Unbelievable job they do, with the cause of labor throughout PA and New Jersey.
All right, well done, J-Doc. Don't forget, coming up at 8 o'clock, the Dan Loney Show, following Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
John McNichol, you there?
Yes, I am.
There he is. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you. How are you?
I'm just great. John, under your leadership and over the last 3 years, the Pennsylvania Convention Center has seen an incredible run of success. What have been the major changes at the center that have led to this unprecedented success?
Hey, listen, I'd love nothing more than to take credit for the great turnaround of the convention center, but I'm just a role player. We got to be honest with you. You know, this all started with guys that you're well familiar with, and none other than Johnny Doc. I mean, if it wasn't for Johnny and Ryan Boyer and Michael Barnes from IATSE and Sam Malone from the Riggers, I mean, these guys came together as labor leaders and understood that, we were in a hospitality industry. And very frankly, it should be no surprise the building was not performing. And it just wasn't doing a good job for our customers. And, at the end of the day, people spent a lot of money to put on these big conferences and conventions. And, what we needed to do is catch up with other towns like Chicago, New York, D.C., Chicago, and have our work rules in the building match up with what people could get in other cities. And, I would never ask somebody to give away collectively bargained work or jurisdiction, but at the end of the day, it was sort of like, well, we have two choices. We can turn business away or we can grow the business, meaning we'll have more hours, better benefits, better pay. They get it.
Yeah.
They get it.
Yeah, for sure.
These guys have the big picture, and that's what was the real turnaround, because without a good, strong union leadership in place and that team in place led by Johnny, frankly, there's no way we get there, but together we can get there, and that's what we did. So, the place has turned around and the business is coming back. I got two shows coming in right now. One is RIMS, which is a big risk management show. We're building it right now. Probably have about 500 stagehands. We've probably got about 75 electricians. We got 150 laborers. The building is full. Guys are getting full employment.
Awesome.
And the next one to come in right behind it is Light Fair.
That's huge.
Why are they huge? Because there were two shows that said they'd never come back to Philadelphia.
Right. John, part of the key pin, the linchpin, if you will, of the new customer satisfaction agreement that was signed 3 years ago was opening up and broadening customers' rights, correct? And that has led to lower cost as well?
Well, sure. Well, efficiency and cost. But more than that, it's just, we're a technical sell. We're an all-union building. Always will be. To my mind, there's good reason to be. We have the best skilled workers anywhere in the country. And so customers have a great opportunity to come in here and have, their shows built on time, on budget, and most importantly, safely, right, by highly skilled tradespeople. So we have that as an advantage. But the customer, the exhibitor rights that are expanded are really, in the scheme of things, just stuff that they can do in other towns. Stuff like unloading and loading their own POV, personal vehicles, bringing in boxes of materials. Stuff that doesn't mean anything to man hours, doesn't mean anything in the greater scheme of things. It's not going to employ any more guys. It's just going to take the guys that are already on the job and make them work a little bit harder. So, frankly, these things are just stuff that, you can do in Chicago and Boston and D.C., and you couldn't do in Philly. Now you can do it in Philly.
Okay.
Now, John, question. The DNC was such a big event, and it was such a huge joint effort to get it here. How does that impact the future conventions coming to Philadelphia?
You can't calculate it. I mean, I wish I could put a number on it, but what I can tell you is you look at so here's what we did the last couple of years, right? We go Papal Visit and World Meeting of Families, right? Then we go DNC, and then this week we're going NFL Draft. In those three events alone, we've been on not just the nationwide stage, we've been on a world stage now in 3 consecutive years. And you know about social media and what's happening in the world of social media and how people get their news there. We had from the Papal Visit through the DNC over 1 billion with a B, over 1 billion impressions on the city of Philadelphia.
Wow.
And you guys, Frank, you know this. You can't buy that kind of media. There's no amount of money in the world to buy that much earned media. So those kinds of positive impressions, seeing the city shine and people recognizing the city of Philadelphia can do big things, is, it's invaluable. There's just no amount of money that you can put on that from a marketing standpoint.
John, can I ask you to say that one more time. 1 billion impressions?
Over a billion with a B, over a billion
Now-
impressions. So Facebook, Twitter, social media of all brands, Instagram, and then you layer in mainstream media, and then you layer in trade publications. So there's really, literally, very few people in the world who didn't, didn't get a glimpse of it either directly or just inadvertently through, Facebook pop-ups and things like that. It was all over the world.
Now, we talk about the convention center, how it impacts the city of Philadelphia. Talk about, obviously, hospitality, but the growth in hotels. I mean, what do you foresee in the future in construction? Because it's directly related to the convention center with the building of new hotels and that of the alike.
Well, there's a couple other things going on around it. Hotels are a great story, and I'll touch on that. But look at the East Market developments going on in front of our entrance on Market Street, right? And frankly, IBEW is very involved in driving a lot of that, not only on the construction side, but certainly on the investment side too, right? So very progressive approach to revitalizing the East Market Street corridor, which has been, as you all know, for years sort of a dead strip between City Hall and Penn's Landing. Now we have a real connector there, and then the gallery is going to be redone. And as that's being redone, it's going to revitalize that whole area. Why? Because shows are coming back to Philadelphia. So in 2012, where we did about 13 citywide big conventions in the center, we'll do about 250 events over the course of the year, but the big full building citywide shows, we did about 12 or 13. In 2020, 2019, 2020, and 2021, we're up at 20 citywide. So we're nearly doubled the number of full building, full city occupancy shows. It's enormous. So to answer your question about the hotels, 5 new hotels are now currently under construction, 2 more in various stages of financing. We're going to add about 2,500 to 3,000 hotel rooms to our existing inventory of about 11,500.
Awesome.
They don't build those hotels if there's not business to support and fill at least a 70% occupancy in those hotels.
Wow.
And those rooms don't come out of the air. I mean, you got to fill them with something. They're filling them with convention and leisure travel business.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome, John. How do we keep the momentum going? How do we protect our turf in this highly competitive business?
Well, I think you just, don't worry about the convention center. I'll be honest with you. The union partners that we have in the building are doing such a great job. I've heard nothing but positive feedback from our customers on they're working faster, tougher, and smarter all the time. They're getting it done on budget. One example is I heard in the previous segment or the teaser for the NFL draft, you got hundreds of guys from my IATSE Local 8, and you got a bunch of riggers up there, steel workers up there, or iron workers up there doing the build, along with laborers too, and all the trades, electricians. But at the same time, I got about 500 of them in my building. Well, how can that even happen, right, when they're so spread out all over the city doing everything else? You know why? Because they've been doing training. All of their guys have been hospitality trained. They've been through the building. They've gotten experience. They understand how the building breathes, and they're able to come in and service customers. So Mike Barnes and his group have put together such a robust training program specific to the convention center that we can do a DNC at the same time, inside and outside. We can do a papal visit and another major show in the building. We can do an NFL draft and a 20,000 person show in our building at the same time. That's pretty extraordinary because a lot of people didn't think they could pull it off, but they have, and then some.
John McNichol, president of the Pennsylvania Convention Center, knocks me off my chair tonight with a statement about 1 billion impressions. Well done, sir. Thank you very, very much for joining us here on Saturday Night Live.
You guys take good care.
Thank you, John.
All right, good stuff. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll continue when we come back here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Lisa Deeley, Commissioner of the Philadelphia Board of Commissioners.
Radio.com. Radio.com.
I believe there's room, for the national building trades, the local building trades, that have partnerships with the Trump administration as it pertains to energy, as it pertains to infrastructure, as it pertains to the undocumented worker.
With the 14th pick in the NFL draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. 1 week from tonight, we'll be live from the Parkway at the NFL Draft Experience, broadcasting our show Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Dougherty. Will come from the Parkway, J-Doc, where it is just an unbelievable sight on what this entire union community has done in constructing the stage and putting together the NFL draft.
And I'll put the list together quickly. Stagehands, electricians, teamsters, carpenters, steam fitters, iron workers, operating engineers, and laborers, just to name a few. Mike Barnes says right here, over $100 million going to come into our economy based on this. I couldn't be prouder of our union workers down there. It looks like a little city, man.
All right, good stuff. And you heard John McNichol, who was our guest in our last segment, the president of the Pennsylvania Convention Center, reference 1 billion impressions. 1 billion impressions. That is something money cannot buy. Lisa Deeley, we teased her at the top of the show. The commissioner, Philadelphia Board of Commissioners, joins us now here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. We're live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Lisa, good Saturday evening.
Hi, good Saturday evening to you guys. How you doing?
Just fine, Commissioner. I was explaining to the guys here, yours is an elected position. Why don't you tell our audience exactly what the Office of City Commissioners does?
The city commissioner in Philadelphia is responsible for administering the election code and getting all of our elections off the ground running and getting them back to the election board, counted up and ready to go.
Awesome. Lisa, your office and the city in general made national headlines, not in a good way, during the November 16 presidential election, when then candidate Donald Trump and his Republican surrogates claimed that there was a lot of voter fraud taking place in Philadelphia. How did you first react when you heard that claim?
You know, Frank, my first reaction was that, we give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt because it was his first election. And, we've been running elections here in Philadelphia for a long time. We know what we're doing. Maybe he didn't get that memo, but we've been running elections in Philadelphia, fair, transparent elections for a long time. And we had a successful election in November as well, contrary to everything he said and on his claims that had no basis. We saw a great turnout on election day. Certainly, we always look for a better turnout, but we had over 720,000 people come out to vote in November, and we saw very little problems, and it was a great day, seamless, went off without a hitch, compared to some other cities that saw some real serious problems.
Now, Lisa, what type of priority does the commissioners put on preventing voter fraud?
We do the best all that we can to prevent voter fraud. But when the president was talking about voter fraud in such a way, he's talking about systemic voter fraud that would take the participation of hundreds of people in various polling places.
Major conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it would be a mastermind to have to pull this off, and it would take people from all over the city to be of one mindset. It's nearly impossible.
Lisa,
there are voter fraud that happens, in small doses. It's individuals, whether by accident or intentionally, might have these little instances of voter fraud, but there is no systemic voter fraud problems in Philadelphia. There weren't in 2016, and we're pretty confident that we won't see any this May either.
I'm chatting with Lisa Deeley, who's the commissioner of the Philadelphia Board of Commissioners, joining us here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor and John Dougherty. We're live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Commissioner, we're less than a month from the May 16th primary. How are you prepping for it? What are the challenges and opportunities facing your office as we draw closer to E-Day?
Every election we're faced with the same challenge, and I think as citizens of Philadelphia, all of us in our groups, whether religious or unions or academia. We need to do all that we can to get more people engaged in the process. That is our biggest hurdle. You know, we see these elections come and go, and very few people are actually participating, especially in the May primary coming up. It's what we call an off-year election. So we'll be, grateful if we have 12% turnout, but this is not what we want to see.
I agree. Lisa, just recently there was an odd lawsuit brought against the city and your office to disband it altogether. And the groups that brought suit were, in my humble estimation, somewhat playing partisan politics. What was your read on that odd lawsuit?
These groups have this puzzling theory that better elections would be had if elections were run by a mayoral appointee rather than people that are elected by the citizens of Philadelphia. And they're so myopic in their view that they can't see that we are running better elections. And what really would make elections better would be more participation. So if we could get these folks to get off this one case that they seem to be hell-bent on, excuse my language, and get them to help us make elections better by getting more people to participate, we would all be the better.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that the PA Supreme Court rejected that.
Yes, they did, out of hand.
Yes, they did. As city commissioners, our only charge is to run elections and interpret the Pennsylvania election code. We are not county commissioners as set by the county charter. We do not set legislation, and therefore the conflict that they alleged was not there.
Lisa, you mentioned that this is an off-year election, but tell our listeners out there some of the key races to look for on May 16th.
Look, we're the fifth largest city in the state, and we have an opportunity to elect a new district attorney. That's really a major election. And then we have all these judges that we're going to elect that will be doling out justice for years to come. These are important elections. So we're going to nominate judges for election that will be doling out justice for years to come. And we're going to nominate candidates to run for district attorney in November in the fifth largest city in the state that is faced with a myriad of problems that we need a good, strong district attorney to handle.
Lisa Deeley, the commissioner of the Philadelphia Board of Commissioners, joining us here tonight, live on Saturday Night Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Lisa, thanks very much for joining us.
If I could just say one more thing, I'm a prayer warrior, and if I could just ask everybody before I sign off to take a minute to send a good thought to the Dougherty family.
Well said.
I believe so much in the power of prayer, and if we all just take a minute at the same time, maybe we'll send a special jolt to the Dougherty family at this time. And I'd like to thank Labor as we begin to step into the spotlight with this NFL Classic.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you, Lisa.
I've been coming out of step with them guys, okay? And I was a treasure of the Democratic Party. I've been a loyal Democrat my whole life. But I've told people, and it hasn't, like I told you, it just didn't resonate with this election. If you look at the last few years, I've been telling people we have to become a little bit more individual. We have to be more of our own brand. We have to do a better job at becoming a business.
With the 14th pick in the NFL draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. They do not. No, they do not.
Well, how
they do not select J-Doc.
What's that, me?
No.
I'm eligible for the draft, my friend.
You're not eligible.
We are going to be down there broadcasting.
Here's where you're eligible. You are eligible to be with us next Saturday Night Live as we come to you from the Parkway, part of the NFL draft experience. And I can't encourage everyone around the Delaware Valley to come into the draft experience. It is going to be an absolutely incredible event, all starting on Thursday night. And, of course, our show, Saturday Night Live, right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries,
right.
And also fueled by Pon Lahaki Stern Giordano. We're glad to be there, and we look forward to seeing it next Saturday night.
Now, right in the middle of the draft, on next Friday, the 28th, is the Workers' Memorial Day, and I'm ecstatic to have Barbara Rahke, Executive Director of PhilaPosh, is going to be hosting and running that event. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be on.
Yeah, first of all, as we start, tell us what the Workers' Memorial Day is.
Well, Workers' Memorial Day was sort of started in 1970 by the AFL-CIO. It's grown over the years to really be an international event. It's recognized now throughout the world. It's on April 28th, and it's the day set aside to remember and to honor those workers who have either been killed on the job, disabled from injuries on the job, or from illnesses on the job, to remember them, to mourn for them, and also to renew our effort to fight for safer and healthier workplaces.
Now, talk about the day, because last year I went, and I'll be there this year. It's an incredibly emotional day. Tell us who's going to be there.
Well, we begin with a breakfast program at the Sheet Metal Workers Local 19 Hall, and we have some amazing speakers.
What time does the breakfast start?
The breakfast program is from 9 to 10:30. We start registering at 8:30.
Okay.
And so from 9 to 10:30, and it's co-hosted with Pat Eiding, president of the Philly AFL-CIO, and PhilaPosh. Rick Engler, who was appointed, he's on the Chemical Safety Board in Washington. He's coming up from Washington to talk about what that agency does, which is really critical for us, being in an area where there's so many refineries and chemical plants, et cetera. And also, it's been slated to be eliminated in the FY18 budget. So we're going to be talking about what that means and why. Also, speaking will be Rick Bloomingdale. There's a plan to reintroduce legislation for public sector OSHA for public sector workers in Pennsylvania, which still don't have those rights. Sam Pond will be speaking about HB 18, which would be a takeaway, a change in workers' comp in Pennsylvania that would be bad for workers.
Now Barbara, real quick. I mean, it's a really emotional event. Let's talk about two things. Number one, the families of those people who have lost their lives. There'll be a number of them there. Is that correct?
That's correct. And let me also say that we compile every year a fatality list for the tri-state area of people who have been killed on the job in the previous 12 months. This year, our list has 134 names on it.
Unbelievable.
That's a little bit higher than last year, and I don't think people really appreciate and understand how many workers die every year, all from preventable incidents. We have about 60 family members that will be coming this year, some who come every single year, and quite a few of them this year will be new to our program because they lost someone in the last year, and their presence at the program, there are honored guests, and I think, we have pictures in the front of the room of those who have died, the fathers with their granddaughter, et cetera, and it puts into perspective what this, just how serious a problem this is, and how important it is we stand with them to fight to be sure it doesn't happen to another family.
Barbara Rahke joining us from PhilaPosh. Again, it's the Workers' Memorial Day event that will take place a week from tonight, or a week from today, rather. We're on Saturday evening.
No, on Friday.
Or on Friday. So it'll be Friday the 28th.
Friday the 28th. Yeah. And Barbara, what's the address of the Sheet Metal Workers Union?
It's at 1201 Columbus Boulevard, just below Washington, where Washington comes into Columbus Boulevard. And after the breakfast is over, the police cordon off Columbus Boulevard. We do a procession to Penn's Landing, and the families join us in there. We read off each name. So from about 11:15 to 12, we're also at Penn's Landing for another very sober event, and that's open to anybody who wants to join us, and we would invite people to join the families there.
And Barbara, I want to thank you for the job you do. You're so passionate about it, and it's such an emotional event. The amazing thing is when everybody's walking up Delaware Avenue, Columbus Avenue, people are carrying the pictures or the names of the individuals that lost their lives, that went to work one day and did not come home. And before you go, I want to say this. This is one of the mantras: pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. I want to thank you, Barbara Rahke, Executive Director of PhilaPosh, for doing a great job and for coming on the show and talking about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good stuff. Tough topic, actually, Frank. As you listen to some of the or the number of deaths that occurred just in the previous year. Tough topic again. J. Doc, well done getting Barbara on to talk about that event on Friday and the ceremony and the meaning and for all of those families. I think Barbara said there were going to be 60 plus family members that are going to be in attendance. Just a very, very meaningful day that you almost can't put words or feelings on for those family members.
Well, I mean, what happens is you just picture it. We all have loved ones. You go to work one day and you don't come home. You have a wife or a husband that's home waiting for their loved one, and they went in this morning and they don't come back today. And you know what's crazy? The number of people, the statistics, and just goes to show you how important OSHA is and how important job safety is.
Again, that event is next Friday. The breakfast gets underway down at the Sheet Metal Workers Hall, and it'll all take place on Friday, April 28th. Frank, we got a couple of minutes left in the show before we sign off. A good guest list tonight with a lot of interesting information. My hope coming out of tonight is that there's conversation about getting some additional funding for the Philadelphia Film Office and being able to generate the revenue. I think the NFL Draft is a very, very good example, as well as some of the other events about what we can do in this city.
There's no doubt about it. Philadelphia has the potential to be the Hollywood of the East Coast. We just need our legislators and our governor to wake up and realize it.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. And the numbers that Sharon were talking about, just the job opportunities alone, and you can see how we would lose in competition with other places who are given more tax credits.
That's right.
I mean, so it's important, and I think she spelled it out really correctly. And again, you talk about the convention center. I mean, at the end of the day, this city's a mecca. These are things. We have the New Heritage Foundation. We're a New Heritage. We're the only city in the country that has that designation. So it's awesome time to be in Philadelphia, and that showcases us like there's no tomorrow. So I'm right with you there.
Saturday Night Live in PhillyLabor, live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Just one more reminder to our listening audience about next Saturday Night Live, part of the NFL Draft experience, as we will be broadcasting to you live 1 week from tonight from up on the Parkway. Frank, that will be a spectacular night because we're not going to be broadcasting while the NFL Draft and while the announcements are being made on the players being selected. We're going to be there when all of the union workers gather and begin to break down that monstrosity in front of the Art Museum, which is just incredible.
It will be something to behold. Can't wait.
All right, good stuff. J-Doc, last word?
No, it's just so impressive. I can't wait to get there. We're going to be doing the closeout to the draft, so it's awesome. Can't wait to get there.
I don't know if that's ever been done before. The draft is over, now we're going to do a live show, but you'll hear it on Saturday Night Live with
the
Philly
lights
Labor.
will be out, but we'll be on there rocking and rolling.
3 armchair quarterbacks.
Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on behalf of Frank Keel, who was in the big chair for John Dougherty tonight. Frank, well done. Thank you very much. J-Doc, good job. You butchered the microphone a little bit today, but you did an excellent job. Thank you very much for what you do for Pat Gillespie, Bobby Heenan, our producer, Jay. Thank you very much. And, of course, for John Dougherty, I'm Joe Krause. Before I leave you, we end our segment always with John Doc's last word. Until next Saturday, I'll see you next time.
I seen that open space. I hope you're saving that for medical marijuana because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that, and I just want to let you know, we're talking big numbers. We're talking, as you know, they're talking trillions, but we're talking mucho billions around here of unionized pension money. I haven't heard in 6 weeks one conversation about Russia yet. That's the reality. They come to me about jobs. They come to me a little bit about Obamacare, but they don't come to me about Russia. And with Philadelphia jumping out of the seams as a hospitality town, we need our transportation to be clean, efficient, safe, and on time.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.